Welcome back, my friends. Let's start this practice with some good old-fashioned basic standing posture. By this point, you already have a sense of the correct upright position. And of course, if you are new here and still learning these basic methods, please check down below for the links that will lead you back to the beginning and the lessons where we talk about the most important methods. And for the rest of us, we stand and we fall open, letting go, a bit softer with each moment. Taking the time to release your neck, release the tops of your shoulders, allowing your arms to fall, your elbows sink, your wrists continue to sink, your hands are soft. Especially today, this is the direction that we're emphasizing today. Letting go of your chest and your upper back, your belly, your lower back. Softening your hips and your thighs, releasing tension around your knees, your lower legs, your ankles, and your feet. Remember that you don't want to skip this opening standing practice. 5 minutes would be the bare minimum of standing that you should do each day. Probably better to make it more like 15. This soft opening process cannot be replicated with moving practices. Take your time using stillness as the tool to help your body open. For those of you that have followed the other snake and turtle Qigong practices that I've taught, the basic steps, you'll know that usually when we're standing here in this opening practice, we are using the method called turtle standing in the rain. And yet, here I've just been emphasizing quiet standing. And one is built upon the foundation of the other. We have to learn how to be soft and open, gently present without doing anything with our awareness first. So don't skip ahead. But certainly if you are very good at being quiet and present during your practice, then you can add that turtle standing in the rain to this basic standing practice. And then when you're ready, closing. Your mind sinking inside. Gentle circles. We will talk more about Dantian cultivation in later classes. And after you've finished opening the 18 pivots, then we can invest lots of time in building up the qi because there will be no obstructions. But for now, just this gentle awareness, learning to feel inside your body, softening outward. Both directions. Let's do a little bit of left and right, yin and yang. So this may be, once again, the primary practice to demonstrate the direction of shoulder release that I've been talking about. And for a lot of people, this is the most difficult direction of release to find, just because we tend to not think about it. It's easy to talk about releasing the top, softening your upper back, releasing the front, releasing beneath, like we've been describing in the various lessons. But a very important direction is lengthwise, through, releasing this way. Master Churchum, who I highly recommend everyone find the chance to study with, I'll keep reminding you, he will often tell a joke, and he played this joke on me when I first showed up. He's trying to help me soften my arms and my shoulders, and he pulled me off to the side and whispered to me. He said, "I'd like to tell you a secret." I kind of eagerly looked at him. "Yes, please, tell me this secret, Master Churchum." And he said, "If you let go of your arms, they will not fall off." And it's true, we laugh, but if we look around and we experience ourselves on the inside, we really do hang on to our arms as though they're about to fall off. And we don't have to. Just let them go. Let them grow longer. Notice what happens. And of course, we want to do this with our whole body, with our neck, with our hips and legs. But for today, especially important is releasing this direction, the outward corner of the shoulder. If we don't do it, then our movements are inhibited in every way. This softening long is very important, and this left and right, yin and yang, 左右 yin yang, is the primary way of discovering this experience. But every single movement will include this direction of release. This may be the easiest place to find it. And so from here, let's soften the sides of the neck. And rewind that part and listen to it again if it didn't quite make sense. For a lot of people, it can be a brand new idea. I know I've been introducing it in small pieces throughout this series, so hopefully it doesn't take anybody by surprise too much. Lengthening the neck, softening the sides of the shoulders, releasing outward along this opposite arm in particular, but really on both sides. And now let's go ahead and warm up the lower back a bit. Softening the glutes, allowing your shoulder blades to move around a little bit. And then let's move into, like normal, this snake softening its sides, opening side to side like a wave. For today, in particular, noticing, for instance, the bottom arm, softening long, releasing. You can't push it longer, you have to let it go. Stop constricting. And perhaps more tricky, the arm that's coming up, even though it seems like it's shortening, it continues to lengthen, continues to soften long. And then tapering the movement. Notice this habit of constriction and let it go. Closing. So even here, in this comfortable closing position, notice whether or not you're pulling in and constricting, squeezing inward toward yourself, or you're able to not just soften the top, soften the bottom, soften the front, soften the back, but soften outward, lengthwise. So your elbows move away from your shoulders, lengthwise. Your wrists move away from your elbows. Everything softens long. That's what happens when you make space inside. Things that can make this more difficult, of course, are emotions that are tightening you up, bad movement habits. Maybe you've been working out really hard in the gym, and so your muscles are all gripped and don't know how to let go because they're busily protecting you from lifting heavy weights. Perhaps it's really cold outside. Right now, everything is covered in snow. My normal studio to film is snowed in at the moment, so I can't get in there. And that causes the body to contract as well. And so finding ways to either warm up, calm down, let go, all of this continues this opening process, and that continues and speeds the healing that you experience from Qigong practice. Eventually, the lengthening itself becomes part of the movement expression. It becomes the same process, the lengthening and following through, so that Qi moves through rather than to a joint. It can only happen when things let go. So if you want things to move through your shoulder joint, we have to release. We have to lengthen. Very important. So let's go ahead and soften the hips. So even here, as I'm lifting my arms, these are not clenched and clamped down, but rather the elbows are lengthening away from the shoulders. Don't push, release. Both directions. And I'll just leave my hands here so that it's easier to see this kind of release. Softening around the hips, just like usual. By now you know the drill. Both directions. And then arms continue to release as you circle the upper spine. Notice how the releasing in a particular direction around the shoulder is enabled. We've got a Melanie in the backdrop. Miss Melanie is a very dedicated practitioner, and her skill level has been increasing leaps and bounds. When you're ready, again, lengthening the back of the neck, especially softening up near the skull, and slowly rolling upward. Looking up and down. Noticing any habit patterns. For instance, as you look up, do you clamp onto your shoulders again? Continually releasing long, breaking those habit patterns. Closing whenever you're ready. Again, elbows continue to lengthen away from your shoulders. Wrists lengthen away from your elbows. Awareness sinking inside. So let's do some shoulder releasing. 1 foot in front, 1 foot in back, rolling around. And again, the easiest moment here to emphasize this falling and lengthening of the arm might be the moment that the top of the shoulder releases and you feel it fall around the bottom of the circle. But for those of you who are already well into this practice, perhaps the best time to practice releasing is as you lift around the circle, continuing to let go. It's too easy to develop the habit of contraction as you lift the shoulder, rather than, as we practiced before, softening the ribs and allowing the length to continue. Both sides. Lengthening. Remember to spend extra time in whichever side and whichever direction is most difficult or important for you. And then during this one, I always hear old damaged broken collarbones and ribs. If I don't do these for a little while, I can really feel that I haven't been taking care of them as much as I should. You might find the same. There are certain movements that you just have to do every day, or at least once a week, to keep your body healthy and moving freely. If you can find even a dozen of those essential movements, essential to you in particular, it can be life-changing. And then you just make sure it's part of your daily habit. Make sure that your hands rotate not because you twist your wrists, but because you're rolling your shoulders. Feels good. Closing whenever you're finished, noticing the difference, how much easier it is now to lengthen as you've been releasing your shoulders. Notice if one side is a bit easier to release than the other. If there's more softness gathering in one side than the other. And allow that softness to spread. Don't over-focus on the tension. That tends to cause us to grip more. Instead, pay attention to the side that's letting go and allow that sense of comfort to expand through your body. Let's do a little bit of forward rotation, moving into the snake, softening its front and its back. Slowly allowing that movement to include your shoulders and the rest of your spine. Continuing to lengthen your arms. I'll just continue to remind you. As large as feels comfortable. Letting go. Letting go. And then tapering off. But maintaining the length that you are creating. And then again, sinking your awareness inside. Settling your mind into the present moment. Beginning this cultivation of the middle, learning how to communicate with the inside of your body, quiet your mind. For those of you who still find it especially difficult to settle and quiet your mind, I highly recommend doing the quiet sitting practices. I'm also creating this 100-day series of 1 hour quiet sitting. No intense meditation practices at first. We just learn how to be present, settled, relaxed, calm. It's a very important skill. So if that is a difficult aspect for you, in the way that releasing your shoulders is difficult, if you're having trouble releasing your shoulders, this is the practice for you. If you're having difficulty settling and being calm in the present moment, that might be a better practice for you for a while, until that aspect of your nature settles more deeply. You can combine these two practices, and they become a super practice. So let's do a little bit of neck release in preparation for black snake. Looking up and over, softening open the front of the shoulder, and release. And of course for today, even as you're opening along the front of the shoulder, continue releasing lengthwise. You can imagine that I was pulling on your fingertips, lengthening your arm gently. Don't pull back, let go. And at some point when you're ready, looking down and backing up, taking your time. Your arms growing a little bit longer with each repetition. And then when you're ready, lengthening the back of the neck. And then in the same direction we were practicing, lengthening outward, spreading open the upper back, the elbows moving away from your spine, vertically, horizontally, vertically, horizontally. By now you've developed some better strength and stamina, resiliency in this area. so you can put more time into it, but only if it's not making you more stiff or sore. Please be gentle. Otherwise, you have to end up healing the damage that comes from your practice, which is not very helpful. Lengthening outward. Lengthening. All the way down. Arms falling practically to your knees at this point. As though you're an orangutan. Let's do a little bit of the frozen shoulder movement. Continuing to lengthen your elbow outward, especially during this moment. Don't use this movement as an excuse to clench your shoulder in. You're welcome to shake out your arms and your shoulders if that helps. Let's try strengthening the postural muscles a bit. Let's try first pulling down, looking up, gentle pressure. Maintaining the length in your neck, of course, but for today especially. The elbows moving away from the shoulders, away from the spine. Move at the pace that feels right to you. No strain. Just a very gentle, warming challenge. Ending on the lengthening portion, and then releasing outward. Giving your neck a moment to release. And let's try the vertical direction. Releasing upward, palms turning down before the level of the heart, forward in front of the face, shoulder blades sinking down the back, don't lean back, palms lifting up, more or less above the head, and then sinking down, gently pushing straight down, and then softening up. When you're ready, lengthening out. Hands moving away from the shoulders. Letting go. A bit of side to side movement. And then shaking out from the top down. Make sure that it's not just down the front of your body that you're shaking, but as well that you're shaking the spine, the hips, down to the heels. These should be happening all at once as it passes through the center of your body. It's too easy to sort of flop in only one direction. Closing when you're done. Let's do a little more preparation for black snake. This one, the hand coming up alongside the body, leading with the tiger's mouth here on the hand. Shoulder, elbow stays relaxed so that your hand, it's as though it passes behind your head to the opposite side. But only if that's reasonable and comfortable for your shoulder at this stage. Do maintain this length outward. Your arm is continually lengthening. Lengthening, even here, it's not pulling in, it's continuing going out, out, out. Your arm lengthens all the way around the circle. Just a few times on either side. And then, one hand floating up the midline, as though the little finger is going to touch your nose. The other hand turns palm down. Rotate your shoulder so your shoulder blade sinks down your back. One hand above your head, back of your hand as though resting on top of your head. The other hand palm down. They float away from each other. Continue to lengthen your arms. Release the lower hand. Upper hand floats down, softening and warming all the way through to the feet into the ground. Wait until you melt, and then start the next side. Rotate your shoulders, softening your shoulder down your back. Don't lean back. Lengthening your arms. This one is particularly good to help with this process. When you're lifting your hand, it's very easy to shorten. But instead, you release your elbow, release your elbows, continually to release your elbows. One more time on either side. Hands stay nice and soft. Closing. Nurturing your mind. We would say, nourishing your spirit. And then when you're ready, let's do a little bit of black snake, twisting around the tree. As usual, this sort of lengthening of your arm continues to happen. One hand lengthens and falls back, but it does not pull your shoulder in. The other one lengthens outward this way, and it continues to lengthen as it goes all the way around, your elbows moving away from your spine. Even as you twist, lengthening your spine, lengthening your neck, but continuing to release outward on your arms. Don't compress your shoulders. Let them fall open, opening your chest, softening, avoiding restricting your upper spine. One more time on either side. Closing whenever you're finished. A bit softer and more relaxed each moment. Begin shaking out if you need to. Let's do a little preparation for white snake. This one is another useful one. A lot of these swings are great for disinhibiting your arm lengthwise in this outer corner, as we might call it. We'll spend lots of time with the final swinging practice as well. Letting everything go, the whole body. Keep your back safe, your neck safe. And then lengthwise, changing feet. Every time you return, strengthening that bright and lively spark of the clear mind. Here, the easy direction, of course, is down, letting the elbow lengthen away from the shoulder. But perhaps the better training is this moment as we come up. Can you continue to lengthen your elbow away from your shoulder? Both sides as usual. Spend a little longer on whichever side needs the attention a bit more. Here at the monastery, everything is built around reminding people and helping people to support this bright light of your internal awareness, that sense of consciousness. So during practice, every time we return, watering that particular flower, nourishing that quality inside, just a little bit. Lengthening outward. This is another great one here. Letting go that way. The hands fall away from each other. And then the legs do the same. Nice and open. Hands fall away from each other. Shoulder blades fall down the back, but continuing to lengthen outward. Today, that's the emphasis. This is one of the better practices for that. Elbows a little higher than the shoulders. As your shoulder blades sink, make sure your lower back falls open as best it can. We'll work on that more specifically in a later series. One more time on either side, falling open. Like a bird spreading its wings. And if I was out there, pulling on your fingertips just to lengthen them a bit further. White snake, of course, can feel a bit more difficult for a lot of people because of the coordination issues. But you do want to have this sense of lengthening outward, both arms, especially this extending arm, like it's being pulled outward, another swinging practice. The lifting arm as well, the elbows lengthening away from the spine. In a later series, when we emphasize the hips and the legs, we'll spend a lot of time with this. Nurturing that bright spark inside. Notice if your mind is being diffused, refracted all over the place. And just simply allow yourself to be here. This quality is as important as training the neck and shoulders, but since it's not the emphasis of this series, I can only touch on it for moments. But don't neglect this part of your training. Dear. Oh, they blend in so well. The deer are outside in the garden. Let's do a little preparation for golden snake as usual. Allow your elbows to fall away from your shoulders. Shoulder blades lengthening outward all the way around. Make sure that you don't pull your elbows back behind you. Instead, you go outward. Let's open, open, lengthening, lengthening. Turn your waist, not your hips. Your hand falls away. Open, close, open, close. Let's do a little bit of this work as well. Turning the waist, fingers tracing the path from the navel toward the spine. Don't turn your hips, don't twist your knees. Just turn your waist a bit. Same thing on the other side. Notice, again, my elbow is not pulling back, just turning my waist. Let's do a little bit of so you can find the moment that's the easiest for this lengthening to occur. When the hand falls through and all of this opens, you're releasing that way, and it goes around the circle. Great moment. But also, of course, that opposite part of the circle here. The elbow still is going this way. It's going that way. It's going that way, which allows for this space in the shoulder so the hand can creep down and through. If instead you pulled in, there'd be no place for this to go through and you'd be stuck. So this has to lengthen. And then there's all of this room. Both sides lengthening to make room to go around the circle. Outward, around. And if that's too difficult, just enjoy this moment here where we go, ah. Like the left and right yin and yang practice. Ah, lengthening. Lengthening, lengthening. One more time on either side. Healing the shoulders. Lengthening, lengthening. You're just turning your waist, you're not pulling your shoulders in. Both directions. Palms down, palms up. Palms down, palms up. So once again, we lengthen outward. Settling toward the middle. Continuing across. Open. Notice the lengthening of the arm. Keep it lengthening all the way around. There isn't a point when it stops lengthening. It's just a nature of the circle. But don't push your arm out. Let it go. Letting it go, letting it go. Turn your waist without shortening your arm. Letting it go. Lengthening. Opposite hip opens. Lengthen. Let's do just a few moments of spontaneous movement. We don't do it too often in this particular series, but it's a wonderful part of the practice, worth adding in if you have extra time. Just let yourself move freely. And of course, for today, especially emphasizing this letting go outward. You may find that if you lean or move your body, that helps to undo little spots of tension that have been gathering. And just shaking out, moving freely. Like a willow tree in the wind. And then so here, you're falling open. Here, you're falling open. Just around the circle. So don't lift, go that way, and then that way, and then that way. That's how we make it circular. If you start to lift your hands, then it starts being something else entirely. Go around the circle. Fall lengthwise. And then we'll do the same with the larger circles. Falling lengthwise. Here, the shoulders soften lengthwise. All the way around. Letting go. Letting go. Both directions. So here, especially during the sinking part of this practice, There's the habit of pulling in, shortening. Instead, you fall lengthwise as though your hands are falling toward the horizon, but don't round your shoulders out. That shortens your shoulders. And here, maintain this length. You're just going around the circle this way. One more and then closing. Softening your abdomen, softening your breath. Let's do a little releasing of the neck in this direction. Notice that as you circle your neck, your shoulders need to be disinhibited. If you were to start squeezing your shoulder blades together or your shoulders towards your ears, then your neck would get compressed. So even in a small movement like this, continually releasing your arms out wide, lengthening from your spine to your shoulders, to your elbows, to your wrists, that helps the movement of your neck and the rest of your spine. So you can allow this whole body waving motion to happen down your body, down to your feet. And it only can find its way through if your arms are disinhibited. So then let's go ahead and do this version of the movement, hands sliding around the waist, gently opening, looking up, lengthening along the front of your body, and then the hands slide down, hips sink back. Remember the warnings I give about this each time. Hands slide around to the inside, spine stays long, and then you come up the inside leading with your hands. Remembering that it's your hips traveling backward, not your back buckling. You're not trying to move down, you're just moving forward and back. Hips travel forward gently. Weight sinks through your legs to your feet. Spine stays straight and comfortable. No pressure in your back. And then, let's do a little bit of the turtle drinking chi movement, a mixture of these. So we're going to settle down and back, spine straight, hips traveling back. Sinking a bit, softening, opening the back and length of your spine. Tailbone sinks, top of the head sinks, lengthening your spine, and then leading with the nose, standing up, opening along the front of your body. Waving down, releasing. Again, make sure that your shoulders and arms are disinhibited through that whole thing. Otherwise, it will start to squeeze your neck and stop the movement of your spine. Start by lengthening your spine, softening through to the feet, and then release. First, opening the back of the spine, then opening the front of the spine. Waiting for any sense of instability to pass. And then one more time. Lengthening your spine. Keep your arms disinhibited so that it does not compress your upper spine. closing. Again, later, we will talk more about this relationship between the spine and the ground, connecting through your hips and legs. But do know that there is a relationship between your spine and the ground. And for today, between the shoulders and your spine and the ground. Lengthening upward. Elbows move outward, away from each other. Releasing up, softening your wrists, sinking down, elbows moving away from each other. Pouring through to the ground, as though gathering up the earth, flowing up. Awareness touches the lower back for a moment before moving inside. Sinking through your body to the ground. Don't compress, lengthen. One more time. Choosing this midline version of the movement to help emphasize this opening through the shoulders. Opening through the shoulders. And here, as you let go, lengthen your arms. They're longer than they've ever been because they're releasing so deeply. Comfortable and easy. So now we're just going to spend a little extra time here with this giant snake. Swings its tail. Using this centrifugal and centripetal quality to soften long through your arms. Hands just bouncing gently against the hips if that's comfortable. If you are somebody with pain in your wrists and hands, as usual, feel free to stop just short of that so you're not bouncing. But you might find it useful to maybe bounce a little bit higher. Maybe that takes the pressure off of your hands. Or slightly more difficult, but even better, would be to emphasize the lengthening quality, so that takes the momentum out. So you change direction, lengthening around the circle this way, so that you're not stopping short. But do find a way that works for you to have this swinging quality. Turning your waist, not your hips, definitely not your knees. And if you can, your hands gently bouncing against your hips, your glutes. Your elbows falling outward. For those of you like me who enjoy homework, let me give you the homework of doing this for 15 minutes every day for the next week. See how that makes you feel, how that helps your shoulders open. And again, only if it's not painful for you. But this may go a very long way toward helping to open your shoulders and your arms. Slowly winding down. Notice the feeling in your arms. Softening long. You might feel as though your hands can reach your knees, like an orangutan. Let this become the new normal. You're aware of your whole body, your awareness sinking into your bones, deep into your body. Your mind is calm. And of course, a little bit of extra awareness resting in the shoulders and this quality of the shoulder release, the neck. As you press your palms together, again, don't squeeze inward. Lengthen, your shoulders move away from each other, and you lengthen around your hands, around your arms to your hands. So this is a lengthening, and as they lengthen, they touch. That creates the pressure between them, not a shortening and a squeezing. Different. Even here, lengthening your arms. I'll just keep reminding you. emphasizing the downward motion out toward your hands, toward your palms. Letting go. The whole body sinks. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you joining me. I appreciate you keeping up all the good work. Continually release outward. Maybe spend some extra time with swings. And of course, as usual, let me know down below how you're doing and if you have questions. You're always welcome to send me videos of your practice. I'm happy to offer critiques and suggestions, compliments. In any case, thank you for joining. Keep up the good work. I will see you tomorrow.